Hey guys, this is Max, and I'm in a group with Emily and Caitlin. Our group has chosen one of the most recent trending issues in pop culture today. Should professional athletes be playing during this pandemic? The spread of the COVID 19 virus affects the sports world tremendously. Seasons, games, and major events were pushed back, shortened, and even canceled altogether. A few prime examples were the NBA season. They were in mid game, and the athletes got pulled off the court in like the second quarter, the first quarter, and the season got canceled for a short while. And then it started back up 3 months later in Orlando, where only athletes could attend the games and also attend the facility. The NHL basically canceled the season, canceled the regular season, and just started up with playoffs with no fans, just so they could wrap up and get the season in. The MLB, they usually play 160 games a year. Their season got shortened down to 60 games with no fans and a shortened postseason as well. The Olympics actually got canceled in 2020, and that was a huge thing because we're used to seeing the Olympics every year or every 4 years, and athletes travel around the world to compete. So I think COVID-19 hit us very, very hard, and we should be worried about saving lives, and that should be a much higher priority than watching our favorite athletes and teams playing their respected sports. At the very least, they should be resuming play with precautions. So there are some major problems when they started up, and with this sports world being a full go. Um, First off, most pro sports teams travel all around the country to play games. This is a huge issue because traveling with this virus and having no symptoms can still spread the virus with other athletes, travelers, and friends or family very, very quickly. Another issue would be athletes who became injured and need to go to the hospital. These hospitals are overwhelmed right now, so putting another athlete and taking up another spot in a hospital room is not a great idea. These athletes can get the virus very quickly from another person that's in the hospital that may have COVID, and they're not even in there for COVID. There's so many opportunities for COVID to spread throughout contact sports. It is almost inevitable. To stop that aspect of sports, players tend to spit, sweat, and share water bottles during practices and games. They also share equipment while working out and training together. This is another risk to athletes and their health. They also travel, stay in the same hotel, and eat all together. Sports facilities are considered an uncontrolled environment. Sports fans come and go as they please. This is a huge risk factor that can spread the virus throughout all the communities around the country. You don't know where those fans have been and who have they been in contact with. Have they been in contact with someone who has COVID? Do they have COVID? With that, they could be bringing the virus to the stadium and to the fans or the coaches. So we have came up with some solutions to this problem. To finish off the regular season in 2020, the NBA formed a bubble in Orlando, and only the players could attend games and stay at the resort during the playoffs. No one else was allowed in this bubble. No one was allowed at the facility. No one was allowed around the players, other than the players, the coaches, and the training staff. This led to minor cases and kept it in a controlled environment, which was very healthy for the players. Almost no one got COVID. No one was around it. No one was, out doing anything. Anyone that broke protocol was asked to leave and quarantine for 14 days. In order to make sure athletes aren't traveling with the virus across the country to play games, having a COVID test for each of the players come back as negative before and after they land will help reduce the amount of COVID cases. So if you test a player before they travel, they come back negative, you have a way less chance than just sending them across the country to play a game. Also, a clean, controlled quarantine environment, such as a bubble, like I said before, will help keep the virus and keep our athletes healthy. Having injured athletes travel to these hospitals with COVID cases is too risky. So we need to have an athletic trainer in sports facility to control the environment and to help these athletes. Avoidable touching should be enforced when possible during play. Sharing water bottles and equipment should also be avoided. The NBA has set now where they have each player 6 foot apart with a set water jug and bottle right beside them. But you look at the NFL, where all the players are standing on the sidelines all together. And the same with the NHL, where they sit on the bench all together, side by side, with no distance apart from one another. Each athlete should have their personal equipment, and all sports utilities should be sterilized and sanitized before and after each use. A limited number of fans, if any at all, should be allowed to spectate the games. Each person should be COVID tested if they are to attend the game, have their temperature checked, and asked if they are experiencing any symptoms before entering the sports facility or the controlled environments. So, our conclusion is, even with all of these rules, restrictions, and precautions, there are still prone to some positive cases of COVID. Over 700 players, coaches, and staff members for COVID in the NFL have tested positive. Of the 32 teams in the NFL, there's only one that did not get the coronavirus throughout the team, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. This just goes to show that the inevitable could not be avoided. During the beginning of the pandemic, essential workers were mandated to be the only workers. Professional athletes should be considered non-essential to help prevent the spread of the virus. Health authorities need as much time as possible to come up with safety regulations for our athletes to follow to save lives. I want you guys to picture something to finish off this. Is the AT&T Stadium is home to the Dallas Cowboys, and is the biggest NFL stadium in the NFL. It can hold up to 100,000 fans right now. So right now the death toll affected by COVID-19 stands at 524,000 people. That is enough to fill over 5 Dallas Cowboys stadiums. That to me is insane, and that's something you guys should think about after listening to this presentation. Thank you guys so much.